Ellen Pompeo reveals the Grey's Anatomy scene she hated filming the most. Ellen Pompeo has recently opened up about one particular Grey's Anatomy scene that she absolutely hated filming, and it's one that fans likely remember well. Speaking candidly on the Call Her Daddy podcast, the actress reflected on an intimate and emotionally charged scene between her character, Meredith Grey, and T.R. Knight's character, George O'Malley, from Grey's Anatomy's second season. Pompeo, who has played Meredith Grey since the medical drama's premiere in 2005, didn't hold back as she recounted the discomfort and emotional strain that came with filming the scene, which appeared in Season 2, Episode 19. The episode, titled What Have I Done to Deserve This?, featured Meredith in a vulnerable moment where she rebounds with George, who had harbored feelings for her for years. The scene was intended to be intimate, but for Pompeo and Knight, it was anything but romantic behind the scenes. TR and I are such good friends. And we had to do a love scene and we were both crying, Pompeo 55 revealed during the podcast. We cried. And the scene was so uncomfortable and awkward and he didn't want to do that. Pompeo admitted that she was also incredibly reluctant about the scene, noting how uncomfortable it made both her and Knight feel. I didn't want to do it, she confessed. And when we filmed it, it was so bad. What made things even worse was the reaction from the network after the scene was filmed. According to Pompeo, the executives at ABC were not happy with how the scene turned out, not because of the emotional awkwardness between the characters, but because of how it was shot. The network said there was too much thrusting, Pompeo said with a laugh, though it was clear that the experience was far from funny at the time. In your worst nightmare to have to do it one time, we had to reshoot that thing. Yes, they had to film the uncomfortable scene more than once. Pompeo explained that despite their best efforts to get through it, the network's feedback forced them to go back and recreate the moment, discomfort and all. We had to reshoot it and do it twice, Pompeo recalled. By the way, I've never watched that scene. I've never seen it. The Daredevil and art heist actress made it clear that her reluctance to rewatch the scene isn't just because it was an emotionally painful moment for her character. It's because it was genuinely one of the most difficult professional experiences of her career. But I don't know how it was shot or covered or how it was edited, Pompeo admitted. But I'm full on in tears the whole entire scene. And those are real tears. Fans of Grey's Anatomy will likely remember the scene vividly. Meredith, still heartbroken from her complicated relationship with Derek Shepherd, played by Patrick Dempsey, turns to George for comfort. George, who had been secretly in love with Meredith since the early episodes of the show, finally sees his chance, only for the moment to spiral into disaster almost immediately. After the awkward and emotional encounter, Meredith breaks down in tears, realizing she had made a huge mistake. The aftermath of the scene is painful to watch, with George left humiliated and heartbroken, and Meredith grappling with guilt and regret. The moment becomes a pivotal turning point in the series, as George and Meredith's friendship is strained and takes a long time to recover. For Pompeo and Knight, though, the pain wasn't just acting. The actors' close friendship in real life made the scene all the more difficult to navigate. Pompeo stressed how the chemistry they shared as friends made it hard to create romantic tension on screen. TR and I are like siblings, Pompeo explained. Having to shoot something like that with someone you love like a brother, it's just so uncomfortable. Pompeo also acknowledged that the scene's emotional weight didn't just stem from the awkwardness between her and Knight. It was also a reflection of the intense emotional journey that her character, Meredith, was on at the time. Meredith was really lost in that moment, Pompeo said. She had been through so much with Derek and she was trying to find comfort wherever she could. But George was the wrong person at the wrong time. The aftermath of the scene was significant for both Meredith and George's character arcs. George's heartbreak and embarrassment led him to distance himself from Meredith for several episodes, and Meredith had to confront the emotional consequences of her actions. Fans were divided over the storyline at the time, with some viewers criticizing Meredith for leading George on, while others empathized with her emotional turmoil. Even Pompeo admitted that the scene left a lasting impact on her perception of Meredith's character development. I think that was a turning point for Meredith, Pompeo said. It forced her to really confront how broken she was and how much she needed to figure herself out before involving anyone else. Interestingly, Pompeo isn't the only Grey's Anatomy cast member who has spoken out about uncomfortable on-set experiences. Over the years, other stars of the long-running medical drama have opened up about the challenges of filming emotionally intense or intimate scenes. Justin Chambers, who played Alex Karev, once mentioned how difficult it was to film Alex's emotional breakdown after Izzy Stevens, played by Katherine Heigl, left the show. Similarly, Patrick Dempsey has spoken about the emotional toll of filming Derek's death scene in season 11. Pompeo's revelation also highlights the complex dynamics between actors and their characters. For viewers, Meredith and George's hookup was a dramatic moment, but for Pompeo and Knight, it was a professional challenge that tested their friendship and emotional resilience. Despite the discomfort, Pompeo credited Knight for his professionalism and emotional honesty during the scene. "TR is such an incredible actor," she said. "Even when we were both struggling to get through it, he made it feel real." Knight's performance in the aftermath of the scene, particularly George's heartbroken reaction, remains one of the most memorable and heartbreaking moments in Grey's Anatomy history. Interestingly, Pompeo's decision not to watch the scene aligns with how some actors approach emotionally challenging performances. It's not uncommon for actors to avoid revisiting difficult scenes, especially when the experience of filming them was emotionally taxing. For Pompeo, the scene with George wasn't just an awkward filming experience, it was a reminder of the emotional vulnerability that comes with playing a complex character like Meredith Grey. "I've always said that playing Meredith has been a gift," Pompeo said. "But that scene? I could have done without it." Pompeo's honesty about the scene reflects the intense emotional commitment that actors bring to their roles, especially on a show as emotionally charged as Grey's Anatomy. The fact that the scene remains a defining moment for both Meredith and George's characters speaks to the raw emotional power that Pompeo and Knight brought to their performances.